So imagine for a second that you're looking at your investment portfolio.
Right.
Or maybe you're just staring down another corporate spreadsheet at work and you are actively mapping out your exit strategy.
We've all been there.
Exactly. You want to build independent wealth, and you're looking for an asset to acquire. Now, you probably have a mental list of, the usual suspects.
Real estate, traditional retail, that sort of thing.
Right, the standard options. But what if the most lucrative vehicle for your capital right now involves drone piloting, emergency vet training, and KPOP demon hunters?
KPOP demon hunts. I mean, it is definitely a pivot from your standard quarterly earnings call.
Seriously.
But from a unit economics standpoint, it's actually a highly strategic one.
Okay, let's unpack this and contextualize it for you listening today.
Hmm.
We are analyzing a highly specific operational model within the children's services industry.
Specifically, the Club SciKidz franchise.
Right. And our goal for this deep dive isn't just to, read off a brochure. We are really diving into the buyer psychology, the underlying logistics, and the multi-unit growth strategies of this STEM-based education model.
Because it's a fascinating setup.
It is. Because taking the leap into franchise ownership, it's kind of like programming a robot for the first time.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. You need clear instructions, a proven framework, and the right expert guidance so you just don't crash into a wall.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid the wall. And what's fascinating here is, before we even look at Club SciKidz specifically, we really have to look at the macroeconomic environment of the children's services industry as a whole.
Okay, set the stage for us.
We are looking at a sector where over $500 billion is spent annually.
Wow. $500 billion?
Yeah, it's massive. But for a prospective buyer or a multi-unit investor, the size of the market is actually secondary to the behavior of the market.
What do you mean by the behavior?
Well, educational spending is highly inelastic. Like when we look at consumer behavior during economic contractions, parents will universally slash their own discretionary spending first.
Oh, sure. They cancel Netflix or whatever.
Exactly. They cancel subscriptions, they delay buying a new car, they skip vacations. All of that happens long before they cut funding for their child's academic and developmental enrichment.
So, as an investor, you're dealing with a highly recession-resistant customer base.
Precisely. It's incredibly resilient.
But a large, resilient market doesn't automatically equal a good business model.
No, definitely not.
So let's look at the actual intellectual property here.
Yeah.
Club SciKidz has been operating since 1997, which is a long time.
A very solid track record. Yeah.
They offer these structured STEM and STEAM programs, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
Right.
They cover children all the way from pre-K up through 8th grade. And honestly, their catalog is just massive.
It really is.
I mean, they have over 70 unique summer camp themes. I'm looking at titles like Cyber Patriots, Digital Art and Animation, Esports Minecraft Academy, Little Zoologist, 3D Design and Printing.
And robotics, right.
Yes, robotics. Lego and VX BattleBots Unleashed.
See, the breadth of that curriculum is entirely by design.
Right.
By integrating hard sciences with highly relevant, cultural trends.
Like esports and the BattleBots.
Exactly. They are solving a very specific pain point for their target demographic. You have to think about the buyer psychology here. The parent wants the child to develop tangible, future-proof skills.
Like coding or engineering.
Right. But the child simply wants to be entertained. They just want to have fun during the summer.
Yeah, they don't want to go to summer school.
Exactly. So the curriculum is engineered to satisfy the buyer, which is the parent, while fully retaining the actual end user, the child.
That makes total sense. I understand the market appeal, but from an operational standpoint, let's talk about the logistics of actually executing that curriculum.
Okay, yeah. Let's get into the weeds.
Because if I'm an investor and I'm looking at acquiring a territory, my immediate concern is staffing.
Staffing is always the big hurdle.
Right. How on earth does a franchise staff a Cyber Patriots camp? I mean, you cannot just hire a local high school sophomore to teach complex cybersecurity concepts.
No, definitely not.
And you certainly can't afford like a Silicon Valley software engineer on a local summer camp payroll. The margins wouldn't work.
No, they would completely fall apart. And that is the exact logistical hurdle that separates a scalable franchise from, a standard mom and pop business.
So how do they solve it?
Club SciKidz solves this through highly systematized operational manuals. They provide a proprietary educational resource book. It's called the Everyday Science Teacher,
Okay.
and they use national science standard lesson plans. So the IP you are buying as a franchisee is essentially the operationalization of these complex topics.
Ah, I see.
The lesson plans are scripted, they're modular, and they are specifically designed so that a standard certified teacher...
Or maybe like an education major in college.
Exactly. An education major can effectively deliver the content without needing a master's degree in computer science.
That is brilliant.
Right. You are hiring for classroom management and enthusiasm. The proprietary curriculum handles all the technical heavy lifting for you.
That makes the hiring funnel significantly wider, which obviously lowers your operational bottleneck.
Huge reduction in friction there.
But let's look at the financial timeline now. Because, summer camps are great for cash flow in June, July, and August.
Very lucrative months, yes.
But summer is a 10-week window. If I'm an investor looking at my EBITDA, I cannot have an operation that generates zero revenue and just hemorrhages administrative costs for 9 months out of the year.
No investor wants that.
So as a franchisee, how do you avoid that dreaded seasonal revenue slump?
If this were strictly a summer camp business, you're right, the capital inefficiency would be a massive red flag.
Right.
But the summer camps are essentially just the top of the funnel. Club SciKidz isn't just a summer camp. It is structured as a comprehensive, year-round educational service.
Okay, so what else are they doing?
The goal is to maximize the lifetime value, or LTV, of every acquired customer. So during the academic year, franchisees pivot the operational infrastructure
To do what?
to run after-school STEAM enrichment programs, in-school field trips, science assemblies for large groups, scouting badge workshops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and science-themed birthday parties. This multi-stream approach is exactly what corporate professionals and multi-unit investors look for to ensure cash flow stability.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that LTV loop really quickly.
Sure.
If a franchisee spends, say, $50 on local marketing to acquire a customer for a summer camp, how are they leveraging that acquisition cost in, like, November?
It all comes down to cross-selling within a closed ecosystem.
Wow.
Once a family is in your database from that summer camp, your customer acquisition cost for that family is effectively zero moving forward.
Because you already have their email and phone number.
Exactly. When the school year starts, you market your after-school programs directly to that existing database. The parent who paid, say, $310 for an emergency vet camp in July.
Which is an awesome camp, by the way.
It really is. But that parent is highly pre-qualified to pay for a weekly after-school engineering club in October.
And then maybe book a science birthday party in February.
Exactly. You are stacking revenue streams onto the exact same customer profile, which drastically increases your margins throughout the entire year.
Okay, I totally follow the logic on the business-to-consumer side.
Right.
Selling directly to parents.
Right.
But you mentioned in-school field trips and after-school programs. If the key to surviving the winter is securing contracts directly with schools, how does a local franchisee actually get a school principal to take their call?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because that brings up the issue of brand authority. I noticed in the background info that they are officially accredited by STEM.org.
Yes.
And they're recognized among the top 5% best in STEM programs nationwide.
Which is a huge distinction.
So what does this all mean? Trying to sell a local service without brand authority is like trying to fly a drone with a blindfold on. Does a principal actually care about STEM.org accreditation, or is that just like a vanity metric for the brochure?
It is far from a vanity metric. It is a critical risk mitigation tool for the school.
How so?
Think about the psychology of a school administrator. Their absolute primary directives are student safety and academic alignment.
Right, they can't just let anyone into the building.
Exactly. If you approach a school district as an independent, unvetted business owner wanting to use their facilities or teach their students, you represent a massive liability.
Oh, I see.
The sales cycle just to prove your curriculum meets their standards could take months, if not years.
So the accreditation essentially functions as a shortcut through all that bureaucratic red tape.
Precisely. When you buy a franchise, you are buying trust. When a franchisee walks into a district office backed by a top 5% national STEM.org accreditation.
And the National Science Standard Lesson Plans?
Yes. The conversation shifts fundamentally. You are no longer an unknown vendor pitching some recreational activity. You are an accredited educational partner offering a turnkey solution.
That significantly reduces the local marketing friction.
It really does. It allows the owner to focus on scaling operations rather than having to prove their legitimacy from scratch over and over again. It essentially shortens your sales cycle.
which allows you to secure those crucial fall and winter contracts much faster.
Exactly.
That distinction between a B2C pitch to parents and a B2B partnership with schools is so crucial for consistent cash flow.
It's the core of the year-round model.
And that brings us to the actual balance sheet. Let's
Yeah.
dig into the unit economics and the financial blueprint here.
Let's do it.
So they have been franchising since 2007.
Right.
And the initial investment range is listed between $63,000 and $76,000.
Which, from a capital expenditure perspective, is incredibly accessible.
The financial requirements are a net worth of $100,000 and a liquid cash requirement of $75,000.
Right. Very approachable for corporate professionals looking to deploy capital without, leveraging themselves to the hilt.
And the ongoing structure is a 6.5% royalty fee plus a 1% ad royalty on a 10-year agreement. And that includes options for 2 5-year renewals.
Standard, solid terms.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. We are looking at this 63 to 76K investment and contrasting it with the massive capital required to open like a traditional brick-and-mortar fast food franchise.
Oh, those often cost upwards of $1 million just to open the doors.
Exactly. But let's talk about margins. The consumer pricing shows most week-long camps are around $425,
Right.
with some specialty camps like the emergency vet one around $310. Now, a 6.5% royalty is fairly standard, but how does that affect gross margins when you consider the physical footprint of the business?
Well, this is where we have to look really closely at the asset-like nature of the logistics. In those traditional retail or food models you mentioned, your fixed overhead is a massive weight on your margins.
Because of the rent.
Exactly. You are dealing with massive commercial lease agreements, expensive build-outs, heavy equipment depreciation. If you have a slow week, you are still paying the same exorbitant rent.
Wait, let me push back on that for a second. On paper, having no commercial lease sounds great. You save on fixed rent. But Club SciKidz relies on utilizing community spaces.
Yeah.
Right? Like schools, churches, recreation centers.
Yes, that's the model.
Isn't relying on a local church's availability a massive logistical nightmare? You are entirely at the mercy of a third-party schedule.
That is a very valid concern for a prospective buyer. Managing facility logistics definitely requires strategic planning.
Yeah, I would think so.
However, the franchise model mitigates this by teaching owners how to structure specific venue agreements. They often utilize revenue share models or block booking. The reality is that churches, community centers, and even private schools have massive amounts of square footage sitting completely empty.
Oh, like during the summer and after 3 p.m. on weekdays?
Exactly. They have dead space they aren't monetizing.
So the franchise approaches them not just as a renter, but as a revenue generator.
Precisely. By establishing a localized network of these host facilities, the franchisee creates a variable cost structure. You are essentially turning fixed real estate costs into variable operating costs.
I see.
If a specific program doesn't have enough enrollment to run on a Tuesday in November, you simply don't utilize the space. And more importantly, you don't pay for it.
Wow, okay. The cloud computing analogy really holds up here.
Yeah.
You are essentially scaling your physical footprint up and down based purely on real-time consumer demand.
It's exactly like that. And that variable structure is the primary driver of the accelerated return on investment timeline.
Because you aren't digging yourself out of a massive hole.
Right. Your break-even point is substantially lower because your capital isn't tied up in, grease straps, commercial ovens, or triple net commercial leases.
What?
You are investing your capital into curriculum licensing, local marketing, and staff acquisition.
Which completely changes the entire strategy for how an investor views this asset.
It really does.
If your fixed overhead is near zero and your initial capital outlay is only around $75,000, the speed at which you can recoup that initial investment changes dramatically.
Drastically.
So let's talk about how that feeds into multi-unit growth strategies. Because the investors listening to this, they aren't usually looking to buy one territory and just sit on it.
No, they want to scale. They want wealth creation.
Exactly.
And the low barrier to entry makes this an optimal vehicle for empire building. In a traditional capital-intensive franchise, you might spend 5 to 7 years just paying down the business loan on your first location.
Just to get to zero.
Right, just to break even before you have the leverage to open a second location. But with an asset-light model like Club SciKidz, a successful franchisee can achieve positive cash flow much, much faster.
Because the gross margins aren't being eaten alive by debt service on a $1 million build-out.
Exactly. And they can immediately channel that free cash flow into securing adjacent territories.
Scaling horizontally.
Right. Because the operational infrastructure, the proprietary curriculum, the staffing protocols, the marketing playbooks, it's all already standardized by the franchisor.
You just stamp it out.
Yes. Duplicating the business into territory 2, 3, and 4 is a matter of logistical replication, not reinventing the wheel.
Huh?
You can build a highly scalable, multi-territory enterprise in the time it would take a traditional franchisee to get a second location off the ground.
It fundamentally shifts the perspective of what franchise ownership looks like.
Yeah.
You are functioning as an executive.
Yes.
You're managing logistics, IP, and human capital across a geographic region, rather than just managing a single physical storefront.
And you are doing it within a sector that provides genuine, measurable value to the community. You are securing B2B revenue from schools, B2C revenue from parents, all while operating under a highly recognized national brand. It was a very highly engineered ecosystem.
It really is. Let's synthesize the core mechanics we've broken down today.
Okay.
We are looking at an opportunity situated within a highly resilient $500 billion economic sector.
Right.
The model mitigates the traditional risks of business ownership by utilizing an asset-light, variable overhead structure. It solves the seasonal cash flow problem by executing a year-round LTV strategy, moving customers from summer camps into after-school programs.
Seamlessly.
And it leverages top-tier national accreditation to drastically reduce the friction of B2B sales within local school districts.
It's a model designed for aggressive scaling, provided the operator follows those established logistical frameworks we talked about.
And that is the absolute most critical takeaway for anyone listening who is evaluating their exit strategy or, looking to expand their portfolio.
Right.
Identifying a lucrative sector is really only half the battle. Lasting wealth generation requires matching your personal dreams and capital with a thoroughly proven operational system.
You can't just wing it.
No, you need the instruction manual, the right frameworks, and the right advice before you deploy a single dollar.